When I first started prepping, there weren't many options for keeping your essentials running. You had some early versions of the so-called power stations, which are really junk. They had the nickel metal hydride batteries, the lead acid batteries, and you even had marine batteries. Then Jackery came along and turned emergency power on its head. It's never been easier or safer to have backup energy options to power up everything from your small electronics all the way up to your entire home in an emergency or a power outage. Now, I've reviewed quite a few different power stations, and when Jackery got in touch with me about reviewing their Explorer 1000 V2 and the SolarSaga 200 solar panels, I jumped on the chance because I wanted to see how one of the top of the line units like this compared to some of the other budget models. Jackeries are extremely popular in preparedness, but are they all they're cracked up to be? Today we're going to find out. Today I'm going to run some tests on this power station to figure out what its efficiency is, determine what it can run, and evaluate whether it's worthy of being considered an industry leader. And as usual, if there are any discount codes or promotions, I'll make sure and leave those in the video description below. So let's go over what's included right out of the box. This is packaged pretty well. It comes inside a cardboard box, and then it's got the Jackery box itself. It comes with the unit right here. You've got the power cord, the AC power cord right here that plugs it into the wall. And then you've got the manual right here, which gives you some information about what you can expect from this unit. Also on the back of this unit, there are some specs printed on there that you can just glance at if you don't have the manual with you. And as far as the SolarSaga 200s, you get the solar panel as well as this cord right here, which plugs into the solar panel with this end right here. And this end right here plugs into your power station on the side over here. What's cool about this little power cable right here is it's pretty long, and it's also got a USB-C and a regular USB on here to charge things straight from the solar panel. It's kind of a cool little option to have. Today we're going to test out, along with testing out this unit, we're also going to test out these solar panels and see how much more energy you can get from these bifacial panels compared to just your regular 100-watt solar panels. So it should be at least double the amount of the 100-watt foldable solar panels, and with the bifacial it should be even more than that. So we're going to see exactly how much it will put off. Now, as far as the specs here, this is a Life PO4 battery, 1070 watt hours. All power stations these days should be using the Life PO4 batteries. It's the best battery, it's got the longest lifespan, they are the safest batteries. But depending on the power station, the quality of those batteries could be different. And this is 1500 watts output with 3000 surge, so 3000 startup watts. And this weighs just about 24 pounds, which is perfect, I think, as far as portability, whether you're talking about camping, you're talking about preparedness, lugging this around the house or the campsite. This size right here, this 24 pounds, is perfect for just about anybody to be able to move this wherever they need it. And then it is about 13 inches across here, it's about 9 inches deep, and then about 10 inches high. So a really good size. And I do like that this handle on top collapses down. The older versions of the Jackeries and some of the other power stations had that handle on top. And this is a really cool new feature that they have that makes it a whole lot easier as far as when you're putting it in your back seat, in your camper, wherever you can actually put some things on top of this. This unit is SGS UL 2743 certified, and what that is, it's just a rating for all of these power stations that's what they need to have to be considered safe. A lot of them, it's not required, so a lot of power stations don't actually have the certification. What they do is go by what that certification says. This one actually has that certification, and very few of them actually do, so that's pretty cool. This Life PO4 battery in here has 4,000 life cycles until 70%. That means at the 1070 watts, you've got 4,000 complete drains. So you could drain this for literally 10 years every day until it drops down to that 70% range, and then you've still got 700 watts out of this power station. So it doesn't just die after 10,000, it just goes down to 700 watt hours. And it also has the UPS function, which is uninterrupted power supply, meaning if you have something plugged into this unit and you also have it plugged in on AC, it's going to use that AC power while it's available. If the power does go out, this is going to kick on and switch over to the battery power in here in less than 20 milliseconds. So if you have important equipment, computers, CPAP machines that you don't want to lose power, that UPS function is really important. It's also got a 3-year warranty, and you can get an extra 2 years if you buy the unit on their website. And then it's got a really cool app here, which is almost, absolutely necessary when you're using this unit because of a couple reasons, and I'll show you in here. First, it hooks up with Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, and you can tell up here which one it's hooked up to. This will let you turn on the AC or the DC ports, or both at the same time. It's got the light on the front, which I like the light. Sometimes it's a little bit gimmicky with these lights, but this being on the front of the unit, I can see how this would be useful if you are in a dark room or in a tent where you can't really see all the stuff on here. You can turn this light on, and it's also got an SOS mode. You can turn this light on and be able to see all of these. And you can also turn those on with this app right here. We will go ahead and turn those off. The screen is the reason why you may need to have this app whenever you're using this, because it defaults back to the 2-minute turn off time. You can turn the screen off completely. You can have it time out at 2 minutes or 2 hours right here, which is what I have it on for this video. I'll usually have it on for 2 minutes because once I plug everything in, I don't need to see anything. And then in this app, you've got some other settings right here. You can change the name. It's got emergency charging, which will charge this unit at 1400 watts rather than the normal 1000 watts. You're not supposed to charge, it degrades the battery when you charge them that fast all the time, but there could be situations where you just need to get it charged really quick and you want to get as much capacity as quickly as possible, and you can use that. Every time you turn this back on, it defaults back where that's turned off. Then you've also got 2 other charging modes. You've got the fast charging, which is normally what you'd have it set at, which is about 1000 watts of charging. So this will charge in a little bit over an hour. You've also got quiet charging, which is around 200 watts. And quiet charging, as it says here, it's less than 30 decibels. So this fan doesn't even turn on. Honestly, there's not a really big deal because this fan isn't that loud anyway. It's one of the quieter fans that all the power stations that I've tested, it's one of the quieter fans that there is. So a lot of things on the app. You can change the battery. You can change this to extend the battery life. You can change it to 30. It runs down to 30% and then dies or shuts off. Energy saving mode, you can change this to whenever you want the device to shut down when there's no load on it. I've got it set to the lowest at 2 hours. Auto time off, regardless whether there's a load or not, you can set that. I usually set that to never, because if I have a load on it, I don't want it to shut down. And then you've got a few other things right here. So a pretty cool app that you probably won't need it to turn on and off the AC or DC or the light, because you can do them right there. But if you do want to change the charging mode, or you do want to change the screen timeout, you're going to have this app installed. And then you've got the ports right here, and I'll quickly go over these so we can get out and do some testing. But you've got the 12 volt, 10 amp car port right here. If you've got, say, a DC refrigerator like I've got, or other DC appliances, you can plug this directly into there. You've got the USB-C, which is 30 watts, which is a normal USB-C. You've got the fast charging USB-C at 100 watts right here, which if you have tablet cell phones that will accept 100 watts, laptops, drones, things like that, that is very important to have. And then it's got the old school type USB-A, which is 18 watts. And then you can turn on the AC and DC right here. You've got 3 outputs right here for the AC, and this is 1500 watts, pure sine wave, which means it's going to handle sensitive electronics and things like that. And then on the side is where you would plug in the AC port, and it's also got 2 solar connections that will accept 200 watts apiece. So you've got the one, if you've got 2 of the SolarSaga 200s, you can plug both of those in right there. If you've got other solar panels, as long as it's got the DC 8020 or the DC 7909, which are these barrel plugs right here, you can plug those in, but it only accepts 200 per port. So you'd have to have 2 sets of panels or have the SolarSaga 200s, which we're going to be testing out today. All right, so let's go out. I'll show you these solar panels, and we'll take a quick look at those, and then we'll do some testing and see how they stack up, the bifacial panels. It's a pretty sunny day, no clouds in sight, so we should get some pretty good readings today. And then I will come back in and we'll do some testing on this, and I'll give you my final thoughts on the unit. Okay, so we've got both of these set up. I've got the 100 watt panels over there and the Jackery over here. And what I'm going to do is plug these ones in. This is pretty easy to do. Just right up top here. And then on the side of this thing right here, just plug it into one of these. And then we've got this good to go. This is giving us a reading. We can block that off, kind of see it, 185 watts. So let's plug in the other one and see where we're at. So over here, we've got the 100 watt solar panels. We are getting about 73 watts out of these solar panels right here. So the Jackery panels are already outproducing. These should be getting about 90 or so, and they're getting 20 less than what the Jackeries are. Now these are much straighter because of the design. There's only 2 kickstands, so you can see it's a much straighter design, where these are a little wobbly, and it's almost on grass. It's impossible to get them exactly straight. And they've got 4 kickstands back there that make it kind of a pain to hook up too. These are much easier to set up. So with these bifacial panels, what I want to do is go out and I'm going to put them, I don't have anything white, but I want to put them on the concrete and see how they do if we can get above 185. All right, so these are really easy to, compared to the other solar panels, these are super easy to get into position. Now what we're going to do is plug in the Jackery and see what wattage we're getting on a white top right here. It's the closest thing I have to a reflective surface or snow or anything like that. So we've got our Jackery plugged in right there, and we are on the white top. We are getting 187, so it's a couple more. I'm wondering if we put a solar blanket down here, would that do anything? Let's find out. A little bit crude, but let's see if we're getting any more wattage out of these solar panels with this sort of setup like this. And you can see now it is going up around 200, so not a huge amount, but it does make a difference, interestingly enough, with this Mylar blanket right here. So good to know in a emergency situation, I suppose. So on a white surface, you get a few more watts, not a huge amount. I'll bet you in the snow you probably get a lot. With that reflective blanket back there, we're getting 5 more watts. So 200 watts is right at the top. So this is basically, with the bifacial, is 100% efficient, which is absolutely crazy. Whereas the other ones were like 77, probably 75% efficient. These in the backyard on the grass were 95% efficient. So really cool, really good bifacial solar panels, and really easy to set up and really easy to break down. All right, so the Jackery solar panels are fantastic, the bifacial solar panels. I forgot to mention a couple things as well. that when you close them up, there's magnetic attachments that holds everything in place, which makes it really nice and convenient when you're carrying this around. And there's also a sun alignment tool on the corner, which is really cool to let you know exactly where you're getting the optimal sunlight with your solar panel. So that's pretty neat. But now that we're back inside, I want to test a few things out. And the first thing I did with this unit was tested its efficiency. I ran a little space heater that runs at about 350 watts, and I charged this all the way up to 100% and ran that completely down. And what I got was about 85% efficiency with that lower end of the spectrum as far as optimal efficiency for a Jackery. Between 30 and 60%, you're going to get the most efficient use, and this was right at the lower end of that. I also ran a hot plate. I recharged it again and ran a hot plate, which runs at about 550 watts. And I figured this was right in the middle, so we'd see how that worked. And what I got out of this was 981 watts, which equals just about 92% efficiency, which is top of the line for these power stations. That's considered excellent. And what that tells you, it's not necessarily a matter of the extra few watts that you'll get, but it's the components inside this machine. It tells you that everything is really nice in there, really high quality. The fact that the fan didn't kick on and get really loud tells you that that's a high quality fan in there. I've got some machines that regardless of the temperature, it just kicks on. But it tells you that this is really high quality made. The batteries are really high quality, the inverter, all the electronics and all that. That's what that tells you. So I was really excited about that. And as far as efficiency goes, the higher the wattage you use, the lower the more that the fans are going to run, and that it's going to be less efficient. The lower the wattage you use, the same thing. That inverter is going to be running for a longer period of time, and it's just going to be less efficient, right around that 85% mark. But right in the middle, that sweet spot, you've got 92% out of this thing. That is very high end for a power station like this. All right, so let's move this over here and test a couple of these things out. Like I just mentioned, I had this fan on and it runs about 350 watts. You can see the startup watts goes up to about 600 and then it goes back down. And this being at 92% tells me I've got about 2.2 hours to run this before this unit dies. And it's about 3 hours that this will run. And then I've got the hot plate that I used. And this hot plate, when it's on, this one burner will use the 550 watts. That's what we use to test it. But if you turn both of these burners on, we're going all the way up to about 1,400 watts for that one hot plate. Now, it handles this perfectly fine. I've run this for a half an hour or so, put some water on here to dissipate the heat, and it runs perfectly fine. When you turn on the heater though, this little heater right here, when you turn this sucker on, it brings that wattage up to around 2,000, 1,900, 1,830, and this goes above what it's rated at. And it will run for a couple minutes, but then it kicks off because it can't handle that above 1,500. But it's a good minute and a half before it finally shuts down. And there you go, it shut everything down right here. So it gives you that F6 error right there. Let's go ahead and shut this off. Let's shut the AC off. And all you do to reset this is just hold the power, turn the machine off, and then turn it back on. And then we are good to go after that. Okay, so once I was done with the indoor appliances, testing those out, I wanted to go outside and see how this did with some of my power tools. I've got an electric chainsaw that I use for some of my smaller projects and smaller branches and things like that, and it worked absolutely wonderful. Not that I expected any differently, but with an electric chainsaw, I could probably run this for hours and hours on end because it isn't a constant supply of power. And in the garage, there's a few different tools that I've been testing this with. The belt sander, I've used this quite a bit over the last couple of days. I've got a circular saw that I've used. I've used this to charge batteries in my drills, and it has done great. No issues whatsoever with anything that I've tried on it, which is to be expected. You know, this is a Jackery, so I would have been more surprised if something did go wrong. So all in all, I think this power station is great for whether you're talking about camping, emergency preparedness, or even just around the house daily use. This size right here, I think, is perfect because it's not so large that it's going to power your whole home, but something like this that is portable, you're going to be more likely to use it than one of the larger power stations. You're going to think twice about that because you have to lug it out. This one right here, it's not going to be a problem at all. You'll grab this and take it just about anywhere that you want. It'll fit nice in your car, and in an emergency, it will power just about everything that you might need it to for a short term. And then with the SolarSaga panels, you've got the ability to regenerate power every single day and use this for a number of days on end. But that's it for today, everyone. If you own a Jackery, make sure to leave a comment below and let me know what you think about it, how long you've been using it. I think this unit is perfect, and I'm going to be using it quite a bit in the coming months. At any rate, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure and hit subscribe. Take care and prepare. We will talk to you all later.